The democratic form of art comes in two terms: the alchemist term and the Hebrew term. So, under alchemy, Canaan was a state that developed something called the Khoikai Pond. And this was a pond under Moses that lifted the seas of Persia into existence. So, without the ability for Judea to form, there would be no gods of the classical antiquity of alchemy. So, alchemy was a state back then. It did not have a feature of autonomy because it was non existential. People did not know the numbers for the charter agreements that are required for generational theory. And these charter agreements are periodical tables and Torah to the ability to form the ponds of segregation. And segregation is when Athena becomes a state of matter. So Athena is a mass currently. It is a midriff line between three justices, which is a movement. And these justices depend upon one another for the rights to be existential to their sacred religion. And this is how Edwardianism formed, through the ability to matter a matrix from its particular parts. And parts would be when a embryo starts to disassociate from its body. So there would be multiple parts to a embryo, but that doesn't mean it has organs. These organs are Haitian, which means they're not Germanic, they are actually Edomantic. And adamantite is how these states join together to form a Canaanite one. And Canaanite states would eventually evolve into something called Hellenistic democracy. Democracy that is no longer part of the trifecta system. And this is how the Holy Trinity was inspired, by forming into the state of Germany through Haitianism. So when Haiti formed, it had the camping tournaments of democracy and Hellenism at the same time, which means it was unsegregated. And these matters were the tuition rates and the graduation rates of their time. So, under democracy, not only are orgies banned, it's the ability to inculcate a culture. So, cultures have to be indivisible from all parts of its society, which is to be free of Christianity. While in Hellenistic culture, there would be something called the Democritus, which means you have to agree to the fact that women have to marry their rapist. So if a rapist is to rape a woman, not only do the Canaanites have to join the Athenians and Edwardians together, they have to delete both of them in a suicide pact because they are still technically indisposable of the men that raped them. So this is how Helena formed into a midriff line between these two, by keeping them at bay from the Canaanite state which invented their rapists. So there's a left versus right here in the Hebrew and alchemy schools of thought, because while the periodic table is alchemy, It's not the only form of alchemy. And if the Torah is true, not only is Hebrewism true, so is Nazism. Because Nazism is a Persian art, it has a chemical bond to the gods of Genesis. And Genesis would be the ability to mutate into three factions of the Trinity at once. So there are three trinities in the Democritus system of Helena. There's the Yahwehist Trinity, which is the Father, Son, Holy Ghost. There is the Elohimic Trinity, which is logic, nature, and spirit. And there's the Sabaoth Trinity, which is human, protocol, and rights. So, if the gods of Yahweh believe that the Son, Father, and the Holy Ghost are sacred, not only does the ability to invent new religions happen, it is the bondage principle of who gets to own their father and son. That means they no longer can sexually enslave students because they are still under the Holy Ghost, which is shatterable. While in the Elohimic Trinity, the nature, the logic, and the spirit are all unified under one mass, which would be Sabaoth. And Sabaoth would be the ability to form into the Holy Ghost, which is Yahweh. So, if Yahweh Sabaoth is at war, not only does the chemical reactions of the Torah shatter its remaining spirits, these spirits are alchemical to Hebrew beliefs, which is to be the Democritus of the party. And the Democritus of the party is the constitution that gets reinvented every once in a while. So, under the Sabaoth principle, there's nothing but the chemical bonds of wastage. That means there is no objectivity and there is no subjectivity. So, if we are to be a Sabaothic religion, not only does the Nile have the only god in its possession, it's the ability to form into Jesus Christ. So, to be Jesus Christ in this religion, not only do you have to ascend Christianity, you have to stop being a Islamist. So Islam would be a deadly sin because Nazism would be fascism. And that is a connected joint between who is human and who is protocol. And protocol would be the rights of whether or not Jews or communists are the party. So in Judaism, the party begins to form alchemist union, which means they start to celebrate Hamas and Hezbollah to join the nativity scene. And this nativity scene is a domestic shelter for sheltering animals of other religions. So not only do they protect their religion, they protect the group of a communion wafer. So this communion wafer is given out by the people of their tribe who protect it secretly. And under the Hebrew system, which is the rights of protocol, there is something called the ability to conform. And conformity is the tutorship of the Teutonic Knights. And these knights would be the Torah becoming a real document living in the people. And the people segregate for these beliefs because they believe they're the ones getting into heaven. So heaven would be the left versus right, and left versus right would actually be natural.